What's cooking, guys? For Alligator here with another pre-recorded match. This is another match from the Oceanic Tournament series that I had about 2 weeks ago by the time this video is coming out. This is a unique match by my experience. This is a Garchomp mirror, which I'm surprised because I rarely actually see other Garchomp players out in the wild. So I elected to play second as usual, and I don't really have a good starting hand, so I'm already feeling pretty bad for this matchup. But you know, you don't give up and you continue. But in this case, I had a little bit of an insight since I saw my opponent have Stumoligan and I see what he's bringing. So for this case, I see that he has a Toedscruel, which is a unique choice, at least for me. So I don't really know what Toedscruel would answer for Garchomp. I initially wanted to try it out myself, but it doesn't really work. At least the problems that it answers doesn't really do anything for Garchomp, at least in my opinion. So my opponent now has a real active Pokemon, which is a Gible, and I draw an additional card thanks to his Mulligan. So he now starts off with his turn with Buddy Buddy Poffin, and he chooses to put 2 more Gibbles onto his bench. He adds energy onto the active Gible, and he decides to take a while to think on his future actions, at least based on how long he's taking to pass. So my turn starts and I draw a Garchomp, which does nothing for me, and then I copy my opponent by playing Buddy Buddy Poffin and getting 2 Gibbles of my own. This hand does practically nothing, so I decide to put TM Evo and play Iono, hoping to get an energy and other Pokemon to maximize my chances of evolving. I pull a great set of cards from that Iono. Mainly I get another Roselia, a Buddy Buddy Poffin, which I immediately use to try and fetch more Pokemon from my bench, which should help me with the situation. So now I also have an energy that I can use for TM Evo, but I also get an Earthen Vessel. So in my head, I need to prepare for a lack of energy, and I decide to sacrifice the energy that I drew to get 2 more from Earthen Vessel. One of the common problems that I have with this deck is I'm prone to lacking energy, so this at least prepares me for the next turn. So now I attach the fighting energy onto the Roselia and activate TM Evo. I choose a Gible and a Roselia to evolve rather than a double Gible, mainly because I have a rare candy in hand. I can fetch a Garchomp thanks to Champion's Call and use the rare candy to evolve the backup Gible into a Garchomp, putting me at a huge advantage against this mirror match. And I have a spare energy for the new upcoming Garchomp, and it would enable me to swing with Corkscrew Drive multiple turns, being able to draw more cards and refill my hand. Ideally, I want to be able to fetch another Roserade in order to bring my Corkscrew Drive to 130, but even if I think about that, my opponent actually plays an Iono, forcing me to lose all those cards. However, I get lucky and draw a Gabite, an Arbin, and a Night Stretcher. So my energy problems will still be solved once I retreat the Roselia, and I'll be able to fetch it with the Night Stretcher. I'll still be able to fetch the rare candy with the Arbin. Going back to my opponent, he didn't really improve his board at this stage, even with the Iono. He just managed to add a Luckscape to the Spiritomb, an energy to a backup Garchomp, and 2 Cynthia's Power Weight. He ends his turn with a Rock Hurl and passes. So my turn starts, I draw a Pheasantipity. Nothing much to do there, but I start off with our previous plan. So I play Arbin, fetch the rare candy, and get another Power Weight just to maximize its use. I equip 2 of the Power Weights onto the Gabite and Gible respectively, and then I use Champion's Call to fetch my Garchomp. I then use Rare Candy to instantly evolve the Gible into the Garchomp, and I use this moment to try and think about what I have to do, avoiding any mistakes. I know at this stage I have to put the Garchomp onto the active zone, so I retreat the Cynthia's Roselia. And now I need to recur that energy back via Night Stretcher and attaching it to the Garchomp. Because once I do, I would be in a very commanding position. So I'd be able to refresh my hand every turn with every Corkscrew Drive that I hit, hopefully getting more energy in the process. You also see me attach a Cynthia's Power Weight onto the Cynthia's Spiritomb before I make an attack. Unfortunately, I don't have enough Roserades in order to one-shot the Gible. but at least it puts me at a better position in my following turns. So thanks to Corkscrew Drive, I'm able to draw another Gibble and energy. So I am now going to be able to consistently make attacks. So here you see my opponent evolve his active Gibble into a Gabite. He's going to Champion's Call for more Gabites, I believe. So he got his first one. Now there. So you see 2 Gabites come into play. Now my opponent uses his final Champion's Call in order to fetch his own Garchomp. He's not going to be able to evolve his Gabites this turn. So my personal strategy of putting in rare candies has put me in a massive advantage. So now my opponent plays his own Arven and fetches an Earthen Vessel and another copy of Cynthia's Power Wave. Very likely for the backup Gabite. So he retreats his Gabite, the damaged one, and promotes the second one with the energy. Now he plays his Earthen Vessel, probably to get 2 more energies. And he is discarding Toedscruel, which technically does nothing in this matchup. And there you go, he gets his energy. My personal strategy, if I was playing in this situation, I would actually not have retreated the damaged Gabite and loaded up another energy on the newly promoted one. Because very likely the damaged one will die at one point in the game. So if I have a fully loaded Garchomp, I'd be able to at least swing with a Draconic Buster on the following turn. So my opponent ends his turn by making an attack on my Garchomp, dealing 40 damage, and my turn begins. So luckily, I draw a Roserade and immediately evolve one of my backups. Now I use Champion's Call to evolve the last one, giving my Cynthia's Pokemon 90 additional damage. I then put an energy onto the backup Gabite and swing with a Corkscrew Drive for knockout. I only draw 1 because I already have 5 cards in hand. So now I also draw my prize, which is the Precious Trolley. At this point in the game, it does really nothing. So we go to my opponent's turn, and like I was saying, if I were my opponent, I would have actually loaded up the last energy onto the Spiritomb, because very likely he's not going to be able to kill my Garchomp with a Draconic Buster. But I'm also not going to be able to kill his Garchomp, and I'm forced to attack. So the Spiritomb would be able to deal massive amounts of damage to my Garchomps. So here you see my opponent use Champion's Call a couple of times. I believe he fetches a Roselia and a Roserade in succession. Now he's evolving his Garchomp. My opponent now plays an Iono, which is mildly infuriating for me at this stage because I need the extra energies in order to be able to swing for massive amounts of damage. You see my opponent plays an Artisan at this stage. And for my hand, my new set of 5 is a Badoo, a Gibble, another Garchomp, a Professor Suro Scenario, and a Night Stretcher. The Scenario will actually help me sustain at this stage, but I'm not in any risk of dying instantly because he does not have any Roserade or Roselia yet. So he swings with his Corkscrew Drive and refreshes his hand. And for my turn, I draw a rare candy which does nothing at this stage. And I retreat my damaged Garchomp and promote the Gibble and then evolve it into another Garchomp of my own. So I'm thinking here if I should Night Stretcher and then Draconic Buster for 350. But I decide not to and just swing for 190 with Corkscrew Drive. It's 190 thanks to 3 Roserades. So 190 onto the enemy Garchomp, and then my turn ends. Then my opponent starts his turn with Artisan, picking out a Spiritomb and puts it into his bench. He then plays an Arven and searches for a Counter Catcher and TM Evo. He then retreats his Garchomp and promotes the Spiritomb. He now activates Champion's Call and searches for a Roserade. He evolves the Roselia into a Roserade, then plays the Counter Catcher he got from Arven, switching out my Garchomp for my Roserade. He then uses Raging Curse for knockout. And I then promote my wounded Garchomp, and my turn begins. Losing the Roserade wasn't really a big problem. So luckily, I have 2 backup Garchomps, and I decide to put a Gibble onto my bench. I then decide to retreat the wounded Garchomp for the fresh one, hopefully to be able to attack with my Spiritomb in a different turn. I now use Night Stretcher to recur an energy from my discard pile back into my hand and put it onto the backup Garchomp. My reasoning here is if a Garchomp gets wounded enough, I have Turo to recur it, and then I have Rare Candy to instantly evolve the backup Gible into another Garchomp. So I end my turn by knocking out the opponent's Spiritomb with Corkscrew Drive. I draw a card and pick a prize from my prize pool. Luckily, it's a Garchomp, so I don't have to use my Turo in order to save one of my Garchomps. He then promotes one of his Gabites and starts his turn. He starts off by using Artazon to find a Pokemon from his deck, which turns out to be a Badoo, which is a curious choice at this point. So my opponent then retreats the Gabite for the Badoo, which again, like I said, it's curious because he could have promoted the Garchomp so that he doesn't lose that energy. Free retreat is one of the main reasons why I myself choose Garchomp, because there are very rarely any stage 2 Pokemon with free retreat. So he now uses Champion's Call to pull out a Roserade, which at this point also lets me know that it's possible that he has his Roselias in his prize, because I have not seen another Roselia since the start of the game. So my opponent just ends his turn by attacking with Itchy Pollen for 20, and then my turn begins. So for my turn, I start my turn by drawing a Pokemon League Headquarters, which doesn't really do anything for me except knock off the Artazon. It actually gimps my Spiritomb, but at this stage, it's not really a problem not being able to attack with a Spiritomb because I have 2 Garchomps ready in the wings and one more that could be evolved via Rare Candy. So I just keep this turn simple and swing with Corkscrew Drive for the knockout and pull another energy from my prize pool and end my turn. In the meantime, my opponent promotes a Gabite and starts his turn. So he then draws his card and evolves the Gabite into a Garchomp, which he probably just drew this turn. And he now plays Crispin, a surprising choice in my opinion, because Crispin isn't as effective if you have single energies, but I believe he also has grass in the deck, so it makes sense for this deck. He gets the fighting energy and puts it onto the Garchomp and weirdly does not attack. I don't think he noticed the effect of Pokemon League Headquarters. I think he was afraid of my Spiritomb, but yeah, now my turn begins. I use the Rare Candy and evolve the bench Gible, add the energy onto the new Garchomp, retreat the wounded one with 20 for the new fresh Garchomp, and swing with a Draconic Buster for knockout. I managed to pick up 2 prizes, a Energy Retrieval and TM Evo. Once I get those, my opponent promotes the backup Garchomp, his backup Garchomp, and his turn begins. At this point, I believe I'm very safely in the lead. I have 3 Garchomps ready to go. My opponent still has 5 prizes. I'm down to my last prize. I have a Spiritomb ready to take a swing if it needs to, but at this point, I don't think my opponent has much ways to catch up, and there you go. He forfeits the match, giving me the victory. And there you go. Thanks for watching. If you've made it up here, please let me know how I can improve the video quality and everything. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It will very much help me grow this channel. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.